What's up, guys? It's Crash. Just got done listening to the EA earnings call for Q3 in 2022 in regards to Battlefield. I took some notes. They're up on the screen. So as always, I think the quickest way to get this information to you is for me to go through my shorthand notes, kind of paraphrase some things and get you guys the ideas and essentially the what you need to know TLDR of this amazingly boring phone call. So essentially it went a little bit different than I thought it would. Honestly, I thought they would say Battlefield did fine. They usually kind of sweep these things under the rug. But honestly, you could tell that it started off rocky for Battlefield from the beginning. They talked about a record quarter with live services and recording revenue. And they said with IPs like Apex Legends, FIFA, and The Sims, they did not mention Battlefield at all. And then right away in the prepared remarks, Andrew Wilson, CEO of EA, says it did not meet expectations. He came right out and said it. He said working from home for 2 years was a challenge. It launched with what they thought was going to be strong stability, but as more people got access to the game, it became clear that there were unanticipated stability issues. He later went on during the questions to say on high-end PCs there was a lot of PC and console stability issues. I don't know how this was a surprise to anyone, but he also said, and I thought this was very interesting, he admitted to design choices that did not resonate with the community. So I'm assuming things like giant open maps, the specialist system, a lot of that stuff that people don't really like. They admitted that at the CEO level of EA, which I thought was extremely interesting. They said that they're shifting the next season to summer of 2022, so that's going to be Q1 of the next fiscal year for them. And they said there's going to be meaningful updates in the coming weeks. So basically overall got the gist that they are going to just focus on the core game, try to get it up to snuff, up to what we expect it to be. Still, I mean, we're back to square one. We'll talk a little bit more about that in the questions at the end. So throughout the whole thing, they talked about how Apex Legends is a 30% year over year with players. I thought that was pretty crazy. That game is still growing. It is massive. They talked about, of course, we talked about this on the channel. They mentioned Star Wars games, that Respawn is leading development in 3 Star Wars games. BioWare and Dead Space are also in the pipeline, as well as other unannounced games that are coming. And then it moved on to the CFO, and he came out right again and said it was a tough Battlefield launch, and it came within a couple percent of their bookings, but it overall missed expectations with Battlefield sales. They said it was disappointing, but it was offset by FIFA and Apex and others. And I thought that was incredibly interesting. And then we'll talk about it, a little bit in this section. They said it's less than 10% of the total revenue from EA. So Battlefield is honestly, in the earnings calls leading up to this game, they talked about how big franchises and big IPs like Apex and Battlefield would push them. But then in this one, they go on to say, I thought it was very interesting that it's less than 10% of the overall revenue for the company is Battlefield. So honestly, they basically said, hey, it did bad, it didn't do well, but the company as a whole is still fine because they diversify and have a large portfolio of IPs. They mentioned several times that they're committed to turning it around and making it a sustainable live service. They said they will even turn it around if it costs them profits in the near term for long-term success. So they're still committed to the game. It's not getting the Anthem treatment as of yet. So that's essentially the prepared remarks. And then I just to put a bookend on that, I thought it was pretty crazy that they came out and said right away, hey, it wasn't very good. They admitted it. So I thought that was kind of cool, but it really doesn't help anything. We still have a pretty terrible Battlefield game. Going on into the questions, of course, the first question was about Battlefield, and the investor asked, how do you look and frame the future, and how is the new leadership going to help? It just went on to a bunch of talking points. They have a bold vision. The franchise has led in gameplay, scale, launch, and innovation for a long time, and he has faith in the new leadership across the Battlefield franchise. And they also said that there's going to be new and interesting ways to play. I don't know why that fit there. And then they said the launch caused them to take a pause in working on live service stuff, and they're going to focus on the coming the core game in the coming months, and there'll be meaningful updates coming soon. Then someone asked, since Battlefield disappointed, can you give us a unit sold? He asked, how many units did it sell? And basically the CFO said, we're not going to tell you, we're not going to give you that information. partially because he didn't say this, but in my opinion, partially because it's probably embarrassing. And secondly, he said that the reason they're not telling you is because it is such a small percentage of their income. That number is not important to you anyway. He basically said, hey, we're not going to tell you how many we sold. He asked about how to re-engage the audience if there was going to be free to play. They really didn't talk about that. He talked about how the games are long tails and they want to continue to add new content and try to stretch it out into fiscal year 23. They're hoping they can rebuild the game so when season 1 launches in fiscal year 23, which will be like the summer of this month, the summer of this year, that it's going to help their profits for next year. So they're hoping to rebuild Battlefield and that the live service is successful by the time it comes out. So they're losing profits now and hope to regain those back when the live service does launch. Basically went on again to say there were design decisions that did not resonate with the community, they didn't agree with. They're going to go back and get that stuff right. And then I thought it was kind of funny. He said that DICE is a studio that has had to go back in the past and fix games. They're good at engaging with the community and having to go back and change games and get them to build up to the community standards. I don't know. I just got a chuckle out of that. It's like, how many times do you have to go back and try to fix a game instead of do it right the first time? But here we are nonetheless. I thought kind of the last interesting thing, they talked about NFTs a little bit, and thankfully they said they're just kind of monitoring it, but they're not really pushing for NFTs at this point and monitoring player experience. Essentially, guys, that's all there was. I tried to get through it fast. That's paraphrasing, but that's definitely the high points for you guys so you don't have to listen to these things. I do it for you. I summarize it for you. I thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments. It's been a crazy day for Battlefield. Not a lot of good news, but as it sits right now, EA is committed to trying to turn it around, and we'll see if they can do it or not. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.